Here's a approximately 1,500 word inspirational story you can use for a video with your title and hashtags. Hashtag kindness story, hashtag emotional video, hashtag inspiring moments. Billionaire sees a waitress feeding his disabled father. She never expected what happened next. The restaurant was small, warm, and quiet, the kind of place where people came for simple food and peaceful moments. Soft music played in the background while the smell of fresh bread and soup filled the air. Most people barely noticed the old man sitting alone in the corner. His hands trembled, his clothes were clean but worn, and the wheelchair beside him made it clear that life had not been easy. But someone did notice him. Her name was Emily, a young waitress working the evening shift. Emily had seen many customers come and go, but the old man caught her attention. He looked confused while trying to hold a spoon, his soup slowly spilling back into the bowl. Without hesitation, Emily walked over. "Sir, would you like some help?" she asked gently. The old man looked up, embarrassed. I'm sorry," he said weakly. "My hands don't work like they used to." Emily smiled warmly. "There's nothing to be sorry about." She pulled a chair beside him, picked up the spoon, and patiently began feeding him the soup. One spoon at a time. Slowly, carefully. Some customers stared, a few whispered, but Emily didn't care. To her, it wasn't a spectacle. It was simply kindness. She wiped the old man's mouth with a napkin, adjusted his blanket, and spoke softly with him so he wouldn't feel uncomfortable. "Is the soup okay?" she asked. "It's the best I've had in years," he replied, his eyes shining with gratitude. What Emily didn't know was that someone across the room had been watching everything. A tall man in a dark suit sat quietly at a table near the window. Most people would recognize him instantly. He was Daniel Carter, a billionaire businessman known across the country. His companies owned hotels, technology firms, and investment groups worth billions. But tonight, Daniel wasn't here for business. He was here for something far more personal. The old man Emily was helping was his father. Daniel had arrived a few minutes earlier but chose to sit quietly and observe. For years, his father had struggled with a neurological condition that slowly took away his ability to move and eat independently. Many caretakers had come and gone. Some were impatient. Some treated his father like a burden. Daniel had seen it all. But what he was seeing now was different. Emily wasn't rushing. She wasn't annoyed. She treated his father like he mattered. Like he was family. Daniel felt something tighten in his chest. He had spent years building companies and chasing success. Yet a stranger with a waitress uniform was showing more genuine care than many people he had hired. When Emily finished feeding the old man, she helped him drink some water. Then she said kindly, "Take your time, sir. I'll be right nearby if you need anything." As she stood up to leave, Daniel approached the table. "Excuse me," he said. Emily turned around, slightly nervous. The man in front of her looked important, confident, and serious. "Yes, sir." Daniel glanced at his father, who was smiling peacefully. Then he looked back at Emily. "Thank you," he said quietly. Emily looked confused. For what? For treating him with dignity. She shook her head politely. "Oh, that's just part of my job." Daniel smiled slightly. "No," he replied. "Kindness like that isn't written in a job description." Emily didn't know how to respond. She simply nodded and went back to serving other tables. But Daniel wasn't finished. After paying the bill, Daniel asked the restaurant manager a few questions about Emily. The manager sighed. "Emily is one of the best workers we've ever had," he said. "But life hasn't been easy for her." Daniel listened carefully. The manager continued. "She works double shifts to support her younger brother. Their parents passed away a few years ago. She's been raising him by herself." Daniel felt even more impressed. Here was someone carrying enormous responsibility, yet still showing kindness to strangers. Most people in her situation might have become bitter. Emily had chosen compassion, and Daniel believed people like that deserved something more. The next evening, Emily arrived at work like any normal day. She tied her apron, grabbed her notepad, and started taking orders. She had completely forgotten about the wealthy stranger from the night before. Until the manager called her into the office. "Emily," he said, looking shocked. "Someone is here to see you." She stepped inside, and there he was again. Daniel Carter. He stood up when she entered. Emily felt nervous. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked. Daniel smiled. "Actually, you did something very right." He placed a small envelope on the desk. Emily hesitated before opening it. Inside was a document. She looked down and read the words slowly. Her eyes widened. It was a full scholarship fund. Not just for her brother, but also for her, covering college tuition, living expenses, and support for the next several years. Emily looked up in disbelief. I don't understand. Daniel spoke gently. Last night you reminded me of something I had forgotten. What's that? She asked. That true success isn't measured by money, it's measured by how we treat people. Emily's eyes filled with tears. But I didn't do anything special, she whispered. Daniel shook his head. You helped a man who couldn't help himself. And you did it without expecting anything. He paused. That kind of heart is rare. Emily struggled to speak. Why would you do this for me? Daniel looked toward the door where his father sat waiting in his wheelchair. Because you treated the most important person in my life with respect. He continued. And because the world needs more people like you. But Daniel's kindness didn't stop there. Over the following months, he helped Emily enroll in a university program she had always dreamed about. He also ensured her brother had access to a great school. And every few weeks, Daniel's father visited the restaurant again. Not because he needed help, but because he enjoyed talking to Emily. She reminded him of the goodness still left in the world. One evening, as Emily prepared to leave work, Daniel's father told her something she would never forget. You didn't just feed me soup that night, he said with a gentle smile. You fed hope back into my son's heart. Emily felt tears forming again. Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest changes. And that night proved one powerful truth. Kindness doesn't require wealth. Kindness doesn't require power. It simply requires a heart willing to care. Because you never know who might be watching. And how one small act could change someone's life forever. If you'd like, I can also help you with YouTube SEO title plus description. Viral hook for the first 10 seconds. Short version for TikTok Reels. AI image prompts for each scene of the story. 1500 WAD.